Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God season... Wait, hold on. Tower of God, chapter 373, season 2, episode 293. Got it. So, yeah, either way, this will probably be a kind of a shorter-ish review, probably, because it was a combat-heavy chapter. So, of course, that means less dialogue, less development than one that's just all content and development. So, let's talk about it. Starting from the beginning, Kisaya just surrenders immediately to Bomb after that attack we saw at the end of last chapter, because she's like, Bomb's too OP, this isn't going to work out, why would I even try? You're not my sworn enemy, I don't have a whole ton of reason to fight you to begin with, so not worth it. And then Rak's sworn enemy shows up, some sort of Shinwei that I believe is Rak's sworn enemy shows up. We have really a pretty great fight, I think, between Rak and Agaro Agnes versus Viol. I at least thought that all the panels, all the way it was written, was really, really good, at least for the small bit we've seen thus far. Agaro Agnes gets nailed with one of those destructive palm strike thingies, and his back gets pretty bloodied up, at least. Rak manipulates rocks to protect him from the second shot, and I thought that was great, seeing Rak manipulate rocks, use it for defense. It was really, really cool. And I love how, in the midst of all this, Agaro Agnes is just sitting there on the ground, having, like, sort of sat back up, just sitting there, like, in shock, like, oh my god, the alligator did it before I did. So, I really, really loved that. Rak gets knocked away by another attack from Viol, and Agaro Agnes thinks maybe, Rak got his ability, his element, his quality already, and I still haven't. Maybe I'm the one holding Bomb back. Maybe it's me. So he starts to become uncertain here. And then we get a flashback. Maria comes to Agaro Agnes when he skips class one day, and she's actually really sisterly in the way she treats him. So again, that's really cool. And I think it sort of shows that throughout this chapter we see the effect that she leaves on Agaro Agnes. But he, in the past, doesn't care about his tests because there's no guarantee that passing that test will have anybody become a regular, let alone a ranker anyway. And he doesn't want to work so hard and risk so much on something that's not even certain. He thinks that struggling in order to live is pathetic. It's kind of beneath him. But Maria thinks, no, that's not how it is. It's beautiful, something struggling and finding its place to survive. And she says that you only find yourself when you're obsessed with living, when you have something to live for. So Agaro Agnes, back in the present, thinks, maybe I have found that something that I can struggle to live for. So he activates his Shinsu quality and enhances a spear with Ice Elemental Shinsu, and at the very end Rak is shocked as well, like, the turtle did it before me? So that was great. I don't know what the one sentence means still. I looked at both translations from the... I looked at different translations to see if it was different, and I don't know. He says something that I got this from the dwarf or whatever, or he says, like, I'll imbue this with the Shinsu I got from the dwarf, but he got the Shinsu from Edwan as his father, so I don't know. And the only one he's ever really called dwarf was, or that anybody calls that really, is the actual dwarf, Evan Edrock. So did he get the spear from Evan and he's imbuing it with Shinsu and that's translated wrong? Or is it translated right and he's calling Edwan a dwarf? I didn't think Edwan was that short, but maybe. Maybe Edwan is kind of... Maybe he does see Edwan as kind of short because Ron is short as well, and maybe there's that sort of link between Ron and Edwan. But either way, it is what it is. Some blog information here. Siu says that he wants the focus in the coming chapters to be more on the battles and the development for the characters than on telling each of the sworn enemies' story like we kind of did when we were introducing sworn enemies before. He mentions that Bomb, Andrasi, and Sachi have the highest level of combat skill In the way he words it, he's like, there's not many that are in the team that have the highest level of combat skill, like Bomb, Andrasi, and Sachi. Yeah, Bomb, Andrasi, and Sachi. Something about that sounded so wrong, but I don't know what it was. So, yeah, I guess from that, I like that Sachi is included in that. I guess he means highest level for their class of regular or whatever. So those three have the highest level of combat skill, and he mentions that Kun is OP when using the Enna core, but we should view that as an exception, because Kun's not always at the highest level of combat skill, just he has an OP ability. And he says that this is the beginning of building up Kun and Rak some more so that they're closer to that top level. So again, I like that. I think Rak needs a lot more time to shine. He keeps being treated as a comedy character and he keeps losing fights. So I think Rak needs to be built up a bit. Kun Aggro Agnes has always been cool. He's always been portrayed as cool, and he doesn't need incredible combat strength because he's the brains of the operation. But still, I like bringing him up even further. And he says that to him, Kun is still a light bearer. Even if he develops some spear bearer techniques along his way up the tower, he's still a light bearer, kind of in personality, but that's just his general role, as he is the light bearer of the team. So my thoughts as a whole, I thought that there were some great fights here actually. I think the art for Bomb just using that one move, again we saw it at the end of last chapter, I thought that was great, but just Kisaya saying, no thanks, I'm good, and then the art for Rak's sworn enemy showing up was really nice. And then on the other side of things, the fight and the artwork for it were pretty incredible, I think, just for the short bit we saw with Viol versus Aggro Agnes and Rak. So I think that was great, and I think from what we've seen so far, it kind of leads me more into thinking it doesn't really need to necessarily be a shield for Rak to use the rock element. I think that the shield just signified that he's better off using it defensively, or either maybe a shield is the most natural form, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a shield. Same with Kun, I think he's going to be able to use ice, because we see ice form on the ground and in the air behind him when he activates it, so I think he'll be able to just create ice without it having to be in a spear shape, or if anything, he takes the spear and he imbues it with Ice Shinsu. Maybe he can take other things and imbue it and strengthen it with Ice Shinsu. So yeah, I don't think that their qualities are necessarily things that they're going to have to use in that specific shape. Also, I think next week is actually going to be really, really hype. I didn't realize it until I was taking notes for the review, but next week we're probably going to get Bomb versus the Shinwei, which is going to be really, really cool. Because we saw before that Rak couldn't defeat the Shinwei. He had thought up a sworn enemy that was beyond what he could fight physically. Because that's the way his personality is. So we're going to see Bomb fight that Shinwei, and that's going to be really, really cool. Plus we have Rak and Kun now using their elements versus Viol, and Viol probably still has a lot more we haven't seen because he has all of Bomb's abilities. All of Bomb's old abilities at least, presumably. So I really, really like that. So we have a lot to look forward to. And one thing I really, really love too is the look into Kun's past here and the influence that Maria has on him as a character, because it seems like we kind of saw in that flashback a bit more of why Kun would betray his own sister, well, his own direct sister, to help Misheni, who's only a half-sister. Or, not Misheni, to help Maria, who's only a half-sister. Because Maria did act, she went out specifically to him. She was kind and sisterly to him. And I think that if we see more of that, it might just keep explaining more why Aggro Agnes decided, I want to side with her. So yeah, and maybe some of that could eventually one day get through to Kisaya. Not this Kisaya, but maybe the real one when we meet her someday. So yeah, I guess that was it. As a score, I thought it was very, very good. I'd give it 9.5 even. 9.5 ice spears out of 10. That wasn't a very creative one. But yeah, I thought it was really, really good because it wasn't it was mostly the fights, like I said, but it wasn't just the fights. I think that we got a lot of development on Kuniguro Agnes and Rack, especially Kuniguro Agnes as a character himself. And the bomb stuff is neat too, and it sets up for really, really good bomb stuff in the future if we get a cool fight of Bomb taking down that Shinwei. So that's it, I guess. Like if you did like the video. Sorry that my voice is a little bit gone right now. Comment down there, tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. Or talk to you about stuff there. And if you want to link to our Discord server to talk with me or more of us there, then just ask and I'll give you a link to it. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.